English, French, Greek, and German at different levels of proficiency.
I speak Spanish and English. Russian and English.
I speak Mandarin, English.
I speak Hindi, English, and a little bit of Spanish.
I'm fluent in Arabic, French, and English, and I'm currently learning Spanish.
I can speak, write, and read in Russian and English fluently.
So I speak English and Cantonese and also a little bit of Mandarin.
And I speak Spanish, Hebrew, and English.
I speak Korean and English.
I speak Korean.
So I speak English, and my main language that I teach in this school is French.
Can you translate the French word l'esprit d'escalier?
That's a hard one. I guess I would say like it's the idea of being all over the place kind of thing is how I see it. It's not a term that I use a lot, but like the idea of kind of complexity but rambling.
What about dépaysement?
That is such a classic French word. It has a sense of disorientation, but it's usually seen as positive, like as an agreeable sort of pleasant sensation of being out of your normal element and in a different space.
What about the word or the phrase te quiero? It's like a platonic way of saying love. So like you wouldn't say te amo to like your parent or to like your brother or sister. You would say te quiero. It's like I want you, but like it literally means I want you, but it more means like I love you in a platonic or like a familial way.
Okay, can you can you translate the phrase "Wu Xiao Jie Lao" into English to the best of your ability?
It's basically like promising to. It's basically like it's like a promise of volleyball. You say when you love someone very much, and then it means like you will be with them until you die. Like that's sort of what it means.
Can you translate the Hindi word are into English to the best of your ability?
To the best of my ability. Okay, it's something you normally say when you're expressing disgust or some sort of contradictory idea, or that you're unsatisfied or dissatisfied with something that somebody has done. Like, for example, if I haven't done my homework, my mom might come in my room and say, "Are kya kar raha hai yaar?" And I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" But you have that word "are" to kind of signal that you're expressing something negative.
Can you translate te quiero into English to the best of your ability?
Te quiero means I love you, but it also means I want you. But we use it as I love you.
Can you translate the word l'esprit d'escalier into English?
Yeah, this is an idiomatic expression, and one way of explaining it to English is it's that situation where you just had a heated discussion with someone and you think of the perfect thing to say, but after the fact. So the escalier has to do with maybe you're heading down the stairs from the incident and now you think of what you wanted to say.
Probably because there's no one-to-one translation. Like, it's hard to translate them in a pithy way. I do think you can get across the idea by using a lot of words sometimes. Like with dépaysement, it just takes more words. And I think the reason people say that is because it's because of all these associations that are attached to words that not everybody in other cultures are they're not gonna have the same associations. So even words that are pretty straightforward to translate, like arrondissement, which is basically just a district or a neighborhood. You talk about the different arrondissements in Paris, for example. Like, it means district, but district in English, it's such a boring, neutral, objective word. And in French, it's got all these associations with all the different personalities of each district and everything, and a sense of belonging to a certain district, like a sense of even appropriation, like it's like we feel about our country or something, people can feel about their arrondissement. And so there are just these associations that don't carry through that are really hard to translate. You just have to explain a lot.
I think it's because when you have certain groups of people that are divided by like region and they form their own versions of like their own languages, they usually end up finding things that they want words for and certain things that they need words for, while other cultures might not have that much of a need for a certain word or a certain emotion.
Because it's not so much the meaning, it's more like the idea behind the word. That like, it's like how in the English language we have like connotations. It's like kind of like that, because you can translate it into words, but it might not mean the exact same thing.
There's no word in English that really corresponds to this. Like I can string together sentences that'll explain to you what it means and give you certain, examples of it, and you'll understand it. But I can't say any one word that'll make you understand it.
I feel like most people when they're learning new languages, they kind of take a sentence and translate it word for word, and when you're translating word for word, you're not really getting the definition or how people really use it. So I feel like this would apply to idioms.
Because te quiero, when I say te quiero, means I love you. But if you look in the dictionary and if you look the word te and you look for the word quiero is want, which means I want you, but nobody says it with that intention.
Well, part of this has to do with the nature of understanding anything in language. One of my teachers used to say, il faut traduire, which means at the same time that you have to translate, but there's something missing, and that's why you have to translate. Words they're not simply identical to themselves. They always have something more, something less going on, and that requires them to somehow go through a process which can't leave them simply intact, because they weren't simply intact to begin with. So for example, when you ask someone to translate l'esprit d'escalier, that suggests that those three words contain one thing in them, right? So you have three words, but somehow there are three words that contain one thing. So it's like you have too many words for the thing. It's almost like you ought to have one word that would simply describe that thing, but you need three. And that's one of the tricky things about idioms in general. I often point this out to my students as a way of recognizing an idiom. You could easily understand what l'esprit means, although that's a subtle word in French. It means a lot of things. In this case, it has to do with a kind of wit. But you could understand that word, and you could understand escalier and know that that's a staircase. But when you put the two words together, those two separate meanings don't immediately give you the third meaning. And so somehow there's something else. There's something more to those words. There's something beyond a simple circular meaning within them. And that's true of all words. So this untranslatable issue is wrapped up in translatability in the first place.
So I don't know if I agree that these words are untranslatable, because it's all these associations that come with it that are hard to translate. But then again, it's so hard to assume that everybody has the same associations. It's kind of like the same problem as making cultural generalizations. Not all people of a given culture think the same way about things, so I can't be sure that every French person has a certain association with a word that I think goes with that word. But I am pretty sure that an American would definitely not, unless they had the same experiences that I did. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that makes sense? So I don't know. Are these words untranslatable? I'm leaning to thinking that they are translatable, but just that it takes more. And the real problem is the resonances that come with them, with the associations with the words. If that makes sense.
I do not.
Why not?
Because there's always a certain way for you to explain what something means. So it's like when you're trying to explain the idea of nostalgia, you have other words that you can use to describe nostalgia. So in the same way that you have a word in another language, like te quiero, you have maybe not one singular word, but you have like multiple words in English or in another language to explain what it means.
No. Why not?
No, it's not big. Like, it's similar to a lot of phrases that you have in English, so it wouldn't be untranslatable. Maybe in one word it's untranslatable, but in several words you can translate it easily.
Not entirely, not impossible, but you have to use a lot of words in order to express the meaning.
Not impossible to translate. I think it's a little bit difficult, but with a little bit of practice and just some usage of the words, some sort of familiarity, it's translatable in the sense that you'll understand what it means and you'll be able to use it as well.
Technically, yes, because I feel like translation is kind of like the direct definition of every single word in a passage or sentence or language, and it's kind of like you can't really represent the words when you're using like straight up definition.
Well, I did say that I did translate the meaning before at the first question, but it's kind of half. Halfway you can translate it, but you can't translate the feeling. You could only translate the words.
I literally know you can translate it, but it's hard to explain the concept of it to people who don't understand Chinese.
No, I think that you can translate it. It's not going to be, I want you, it's going to be, I love you.
No, I think that it's possible. It's not a direct translation, but it has the same idea.
So there's a paradox involved here because we can't understand them at all without translating to some extent, and yet we can't fully translate them. So I would argue that they are untranslatable, just like anything that's truly idiomatic is untranslatable. And yet we have a relationship to that thing, and that relationship is open in a dialogue in which understanding can grow. And this is very much, one can compare this, one can use this as a way of understanding any relationship to an other, any relationship to someone or something that is fundamentally different from you. And so you can't simply take that thing and appropriate it and make it yours. But that thing is not totally closed off to you. That thing is not so much itself that there's no way that it would be open towards dialogue. So instead, you have this untranslatability that you have to respect. That's part of the fundamental ethics of relationship with the other. Yet at the same time, you have to be open to some understanding. So it's both translatable and untranslatable.
And then all words are untranslatable. Wow, they all. Oh. I pretty much feel like all words are translatable. Just it can take longer for others, and it's just, and all words are complex. So I understand why there are people who say that no words are translatable. In a strict sense, that kind of makes sense. We're always taking shortcuts. So I'd say all words are translatable. It takes a while for some, and it's all about the associations with each one. You know, I guess it's very much like art. You know, can you say, well, this painting is about this? Once you can reduce a painting like that, then it loses its power. Like, a painting is never just what somebody says it's about. It's always about the experience of looking at the painting. That's always a part of it, which is untranslatable. So in a way, I agree with all three of the statements. But we need some kind of shortcut to be able to communicate. So, given the limits of language and the limits of experience, it's a compromise. Like, all words are translatable, but you'll never get the full ramifications of any given word completely from one person to another. And once you account for cultures, it's going to create more misunderstandings.
Alright, so I would probably say that there are some words that are untranslatable because they rely on like a certain knowledge or a certain background knowledge of something for you to be able to understand what it means. So the same thing goes for like education. If you don't know the background of like a certain math topic, you won't understand the meaning of like the topics that come after that. So that goes for language as well. If you don't understand the background of like what a certain word means or the importance of it to the culture, then you won't understand what it means in the other language because there's no way for anybody to explain it to you.
I feel that there's some words that are untranslatable, just because there's some words in certain languages that only affects the country or the origins from where they are. So some words would be able to be translated, but for most words, they're pretty universal across languages.
I think I probably believe the field of thought that says that no words are untranslatable. I think all words represent some sort of idea, and language is just a form of expressing these abstractions almost. And different languages have different ideas within them, but I don't see why there's any language that can't be sort of manipulated to achieve some sort of word or idea or abstraction.
I think that some words are untranslatable because I feel like a word like pen can be translated because it's really basic, but as I said before, when you're using idioms or kind of things that are specific to a specific, are like specific to a culture, you can't really translate that.
I think some words aren't translatable because you can always find equivalents, but it's always hard to capture the complete essence of a language if there's like history behind it or if there's some cultural meaning behind it.
I would say some words are untranslatable, because my experience, while trying to translate something, there are certain words that I can use, certain words that I can't, but I will try so hard. Many components like driveway or babysitter, I cannot translate, nor in Spanish or